Welcome to Leading the Follower with your host, Rebecca Benston. Good morning and welcome to Leading the Follower. I'm Rebecca Benston and I'm here once again on a Monday to say hello and check in for the week. I have a few things to talk about today and then I'll be out of your hair. Just wanted to remind you to stop by the Higher Ground Books and Media website and become a site member so you can participate in our community forum and share your praise reports and prayer requests. We're really trying to get that community going so that we can help you to overcome challenges through prayer and through building your faith. And we would love to hear what you have to say about how God has been working in your life and how He may help you through something that you're going through. And we would love to pray for you. We have a lot of good people who have no problem praying for you, no matter what your situation is. And also, we have a lot of great resources in our shop. A lot of good reads as far as fiction and children's books and ministry resources. A lot of life stories, memoir, and just true stories of people who have overcome struggle, with the help of God and His intervention in their lives. And we think that these are really helpful when you're going through something. Usually the best thing that you can do is to find other people who have gone through something similar and toss around some ideas for how you can get some resolution in your life. Sometimes things seem twice as difficult when you are trying to tackle those on your own and solve your problems without the help of anyone, including God. So be sure to take advantage of the forum, and that's all at highergroundbooksandmedia.com. All one very long word, and you can sign up for free, and we will add you to our forum. And we also have a new release called Midnight the Holy Cow by Ron Isaacs. That is a children's book, and I think you will enjoy it. It's got lots of adorable pictures that you can share with your child during your nightly reading time or your daily reading time, however you do story time with your kids. We've got so many fun stories, cute stories that teach biblical principles and just show that God is at work in everything we do. I think you'll enjoy those. So stop in and see what we've got. Today, I want to talk a little bit about something that constantly nags at me. I have been through lots of different things with the church and gone through many periods in my life where I was just not attending a church because, well, for whatever reason, the conditions weren't favorable to do so. At one point in my life, I was very active in the church when I was a teenager. There was a lot of internal bickering and politics and crazy stuff going on. A lot of cattiness among the mothers and the teenage girls in that church. And since I was actually going with my aunt and my cousin, I didn't really have a mom in that fight. I didn't have anybody, fighting for me, but I also didn't have anyone who was attacking me personally. But I believe my cousin was involved in some of that stuff, and it was very stressful for us, and we all ended up leaving that church after a time. It was it was really just uncalled for and stupid, and ended up being the thing that kept me out of church. One of many things that kept me out of church for a good long while, because at age 15, 16, that kind of colors your perception of going to church and what it's all about. And if you've had a bad experience, the last thing you want to do is voluntarily put yourself back into a negative situation. So I chose not to go for a very long time. And although I always believed in God and always, was a believer in the Bible and everything, I didn't ever fully understand it, because I never got to study it in the way that I needed to have that understanding. And the type of church that we attended was more of a church that preached about how angry God would be at you if you did this wrong, or it was all about the things that you shouldn't do instead of the things that you should do. So the teaching was more penalty based than anything else, and I don't think that really serves the purpose of bringing people closer to God. So even at 15 or 16 years old, I knew that, and I decided to just step aside and, move on without being involved in any kind of organized religion. Probably, let's see, it was probably a good 25 years later or so, somewhere in the neighborhood of my 30s, when I started feeling the pull to get back into some kind of church, because I really missed the worship. I really missed the fellowship and being a part of something. And so even though I still had very little understanding of what I wanted to go to church for, I knew that I wanted to be part of a body of believers, because I felt like something was missing. I was married for several years before I talked to my husband about maybe going back to church. And both of us were from different backgrounds. He was from a Catholic background, and I was from, Protestant, Free Will Baptist type, old school church type background. And so it didn't really mix very well, because I wanted to be in a smaller church setting where you felt like family, where you knew everybody and you could interact with everybody. I really enjoyed that type of a church setting, whereas he was content to go to a larger church where he didn't really have to make close relationships with the people you went to church with, and you just go and you go through the usual things that you go through to get through a church sermon and all that, and then you've done what you needed to do and you go home. And so I started to see a problem there. When we attempted to go back, we went to two different churches. We went together, but it was obvious that one style was not going to blend with the other. And eventually, sadly, we ended up getting divorced. Not necessarily over that, but it was one of the things that really contributed to our understanding that we didn't really have a whole lot in common, even after all the years we'd been together. And so we ended up getting divorced. I ended up getting more involved in church, and decided that I wanted to pursue education in religion so that I could better understand what it was that I was supposed to be getting from the church. And I did. I went to Liberty University, and I finished a master's in religion with a focus in discipleship ministry, which was where my interest really is, in trying to help other people understand God's involvement in their lives and get them to start seeking Him and trying to incorporate Him into the solutions that they need for the things that they're facing. And it was always kind of that way with me. It's always been the focus that made sense to me. So I noticed at the church that I was going to at the time, when I came back, I was really trying to get in and be involved. I was teaching some Bible study courses, things that I had never really done in my life, but I wanted to understand why it was that we needed to worship God, and why it was that we needed to let Him into our lives, and we needed to acknowledge that He is in control of every piece of it. Because I had suffered with anxiety and depression for many years, and dealt with a lot of things on my own, without really understanding that God was always there with me. I just didn't know it because I didn't choose to see his hand in my life. I started feeling really unhappy with the church that I was attending, because there weren't enough opportunities for us to actually minister to people. To me, it felt, and I'm just very blunt with this, it felt like very cliquish in the church. It felt like there was a group of people who were the chosen ones, and there was a group of people who just showed up to put their money in the offering plate. And I didn't really appreciate that. And that, to me, is what's wrong with our church, with church in general these days, is that when you get there, it seems inevitably like, and I don't want to turn anybody off from going to church, if you don't see these things when you go and you're okay with the hierarchies and all that, by all means continue going to church if that's what feeds your soul and helps you connect with God. I'm not trying to sway anybody out of any kind of a situation that helps them get closer to God. I really would never do that. But I know for me, I was very disappointed, and I didn't like being disappointed in people that I actually really cared about. I had a lot of good relationships with people in the church, and I love these people dearly. Still do. I mean, even though I'm disappointed in the way that everything turned out, and I saw some things that I don't think really fit into what we're supposed to be portraying to the world about how God works and how Jesus should be in our lives. I chose to leave the one church that I was going to, because I think the final straw for me was knowing that there was a group of us ladies who were meeting to do Bible study, and the pastor's wife never participated with us ever. Didn't seem interested in participating in our Bible studies. However, I believe she had a group of younger girls that she took out and mentored in one way or another, I guess, and I know she was probably playing to her strengths and whatever it is that she felt she needed to do, but it really did seem like there was a spotlight issue, that certain people had to have the spotlight on them at our church, and if it wasn't something that was attractive to them, they didn't really support it fully. They'd let you do what you needed to do, but they didn't really get behind it and throw it out there and support it, other than maybe a passing comment about, hey, the women are meeting over here, whoop-de-doo. It just really seemed like, okay, these old ladies want to go over here and meet and have their Bible study, but if you're into something a little more exciting, the younger people are going to go do this and this. And it wasn't even a matter of younger and older. It was just a matter of, there was no sense of continuity. There was no sense of, these older women that met and did the Bible studies had nothing to offer to this younger generation, because we weren't cool enough, and we didn't fit, we didn't look the way we needed to look. We didn't act the way we needed to act, because we were maybe old-fashioned or whatever. That's kind of what I took from it. So I didn't really care for that, and it kind of soured me on the whole experience of being there. and I eventually went looking for another church. Well, I went to a couple, still couldn't really find what I needed, and kind of bounced around a little bit until COVID hit and everything was kind of shut down. And then I kind of took my cue from how the churches in our area acted during the COVID situation, because I felt like there were certain things that believers should not have caved on. And I'll just leave it at that because it's such a touchy situation. I had my beliefs about it, and I decided that I would just stay in my house and I could reach out to God and include my mom and my sisters and my daughter as I needed to, and we could do our own home church, and that's what we ended up doing. And really the whole experience just did not sit well with me at all, and I've struggled over these last few years to kind of define what it should look like for me to be doing ministry, because I have been an ordained minister for 13 years. Don't really know what to do with that, because I'm not the type of person who likes to get out and do funerals and weddings and stuff like that. I'm not that kind of ordained minister. I just want people to know that I'm very interested in faith and understanding how God works in our lives. And I felt at the time that becoming ordained would be a good thing for me to do. Wasn't really sure what I was going to do with it. Still really don't know. I also, after I finished my degree at Liberty, went through another program there through Liberty and got my pastoral counseling certification. And I have that as well as that degree from their seminary. And I've gone and gotten a mental health coach certification, and I have gone through the study process for life coaching. So I have a well-rounded set of skills, and I've been educated in a lot of areas about how to help people. And that's really what I want Higher Ground Books and Media to do, to be at the core of helping people who are being challenged by how society works, and who are struggling to put their faith together and use it in a way that God means them to use it. So as I've been sorting through this, I've been thinking a lot about how I came up through everything that I've been through and where my faith is and how it got there. And one thing that really runs through all of that is I don't like prescribed sentiments, as far as I don't enjoy Christian rhetoric. I don't enjoy the buzzwords. I don't enjoy the cookie cutter Christian stuff. I just want people to understand that when they're going through this, that God is there with them, and this is how He might be working with them. And that it won't always be easy to see, but if they reach out to Him and open themselves up to let Him work in their lives, they may well find every solution that they need. And there's really no amount of preaching at someone and throwing these the Christianese at them that's going to make them a better person or a better Christian. And I think many people are really turned off by the way that Christians approach them and try to kind of win them over to something that shouldn't be a gimmick. It shouldn't be something that we try to sell to someone. Your relationship with God is like your relationship with your mom and dad. God is your creator, and God is the one who can help you out of any situation. God is the one who can solve your problems and help you learn how to stay out of trouble. God is what you need. So that is really my focus. So I try to find ways to put out the information that we have so that the people who need to hear it can hear it without feeling like they're being patronized or without feeling like they're being condescended to. And it's very important to me when I'm going through submissions or whatever. If I'm reading and I see that maybe the tone of what you've written is a little bit, talking down to someone, or maybe it's just filled with too much of the rhetoric or too much of the I'm looking down at you and telling you all this, type of a mentality, which I get a lot like that. And it's good, solid, biblical writing. Don't get me wrong. It's perfectly fine for that, if that's the style that you want to go with. But for us, I'm likely to reject it, even if it's solid biblical teaching, if it appears to be something that we couldn't meet them where they are with that book. And if your thoughts are kind of all over the place because you haven't necessarily sorted out where you're at, that's also something I look for. So if you are thinking about submitting a book to us, just keep that in mind. I'm looking for people who can reach people where they are and really help them understand more practical applications of God's Word in their lives, and not necessarily this regurgitation of biblical, what do you call it? There's a word, and I can't come up with it right now, and I hate to keep saying rhetoric, but there's just something so non-genuine about the way some of the biblical texts are written, the support materials and stuff. I want people to feel like people, and I want them to know that God is someone who will come alongside them and put his arm around them and help them through whatever it is they're going through. And if it doesn't make me feel like that when I read a submission, then I'm likely to reject it. So it doesn't mean you're not a good writer. It doesn't mean that your work's not good. It just means it's not for us. And I want people to know that, and I hate to really reject someone and have them ask me, why was I rejected? Well, because of that. That's my philosophy on this. If it doesn't fit what we do, I'm not going to put it up there just for the sake of putting a very biblical reference book or a very spiritually charged book that really doesn't go in the direction that I need it to go in. That's just how I've started this and how I intend to see it through. So anyway, I know a lot of people have trauma around church, and if we are not actively looking for ways to reach people who have been hurt by the church and help them understand that they don't have to feel that way when they are in a relationship with God, then that's not a tool I need in my toolkit. So, well, with that said, I went a little longer than I had expected to go with this podcast, obviously, but I had a lot to say about it because it really, after a weekend of going over submissions and looking at things and then getting some feedback from people that had received rejections, I feel like I just needed to say it so that anybody who's listening to this would know it's not a negative reflection on you, and I'm not likely to give you an in-depth reason for rejecting. Just know that if it didn't fit our criteria, it didn't fit our criteria, and that's just the way it is. So in any case, if you are trying to minister to someone and you know that you are very biblically sound in the things that you believe and the things that you practice in your life, please take a moment to think about how you're approaching people that you think need God in their lives. They may already have God in their lives, just not the way you need it to look for you. And it's not about our satisfaction, it's about God's satisfaction. And He will be the one that judges each and every one of us. So we need to look at this as more of a, let's be human beings, and let's just remind each other of God's power in ways that make sense. And hopefully that makes sense to somebody out there. But that's what I have to say for this Monday. And I'm sure I have more to say, but I'm going to leave it at that because it's a pretty long podcast. So have a great Monday. Have a great rest of your week. And I'll be back on Friday with something else. Thanks for stopping in, and God bless. Thanks for stopping by. Be sure to check out our website and blog. The blog is at www.leading-the-follower.com. Thanks and God bless.